What's up YouTube, I'm just another guy and welcome back to Gibraltar United. So here we are today, we've got the Champions League group stage draw, and I know I said I'll meet you back for the Cliftonville match, and I just decided I didn't want to do qualifying on camera. It may return next season, it may not, but I was looking at my fixture and I was like, I kind of just want to play it. I didn't really have the motivation, I guess, in a way, to play the qualifying, because I felt it'd be an easy game. I felt it'd be an easy ride through to the group stages, and I was right. We had a pretty easy teams, pretty easy draw, and we glided ourselves through to this group stage draw today. So I'm gonna go through the fixtures obviously and talk about how we did and who we beat to get to the stage today. Then we're gonna go through. Then we're gonna have a look at the draw, and we're also gonna talk about the club itself as well. But we're gonna start off in the transfers and talk about who we brought in and who we let go during the summer. So one bit of action you already know about is our new. I've gone too far back. Is our left midfield change. We let go of Hugo Bonnet and we brought in Moria, who has done really well so far for us in his first few games in qualifying. So really good signs there. Elsewhere though, on the outside, we let quite a few people go on a free transfer. Amari is a big one. He has got, how many caps for Gibraltar? 31 caps for Gibraltar now, so a very senior player in the Gibraltar team. 28 years of age, just he wasn't getting enough first team football and he wanted out, so, I let him leave. Dave Britton, the young Irishman we brought in a few years back, never really did too much in terms of breaking into my actual first squad, the Champions League team. Decided I'd let him go. He's gone back to Ireland. Dan Evans left, probably one of the best young Gibraltarian players we had come for our team in a very long time, probably since as well. Maybe, I don't know, Dan Evans, maybe someone else has been equally as good as Dan Evans. So, we just didn't really want him anymore. I didn't really see a place for him in the team where he'd get enough first team football. So, it's better he left and went somewhere else. He's gone to Lincoln, so he's gone to the second best team in Gibraltar, which is all good really in terms of from the Gibraltar national team perspective. Next guy to leave was Marcos Lopez. He joined I believe this is a Portuguese team. I could be wrong in saying that. It is a second division. Is that second division, or I don't even know what division that is. But either way, he joined a Portuguese team, 21 years of age, Portuguese striker. We signed him for 500k, and that was a poor bit of business on my part. Really should have looked to have sold him on for cash, especially after he got 15 goals in 7 years. We probably could have sold him on for profit then, but I decided against it. I decided to keep him, and in the end, I just didn't want him. I didn't want a new deal for him, so I let him go on a free. That's 500k wasted from the team's perspective. So that's poor from me. Tom Higgins also left on a free. He joined Inverness. Never really a great player for us. Definitely is more suited for the Scottish League. So off he goes there. And Silvio also left. Our striker, another striker to leave the team, 22 years of age, spent 3 years at the side, 70k we brought him for, let him go on a free. He's joined a top Brazilian team, so a team in the actual top Brazilian league, so that's quite a step up for him, but again, I probably could have sold him on for a bit of money if I'd have been smart, if I'd have been savvy, but I just wasn't smart enough. I guess I wasn't paying attention enough, so I let Silvio leave on a free, and again, that's 70k really wasted from the team. But those are all the key transfers out. Elsewhere, it's just a lot of youth players that never made it were released on frees. I believe majority of them picked up sides in Gibraltar, and we released pretty much a whole squad worth of youth players to be loaned out to people in our division and in the lower division. So going to the ins now, with a lot of strikers leaving the side, Silvio, Tom Higgins and Lopez, we needed to bring a new striker in. That's where Robert Renuz, I could be saying that wrong, Renuz, I'm going to say it like that. That's where he comes in, 31 years of age, Polish striker. I think he's a very good striker if you compare him, or a better striker if we compare him to our previous 3 backups. But I guess the one thing is his wage is a lot more. He's on 9k a week. However, with me releasing them 3 players, if I'd have signed maybe 1 or 2 of them on and kept them as backup and added on the guy we released, the combined wage total probably would have come to around 9k per week. So we're not like spending ridiculously. We're not spending a load more on wages. We're not spending ridiculous amounts on just one guy, because really, like I say, the replacement of the 3 strikers for him isn't too bad. Got Premier League experience, this guy as well. So despite the fact maybe he's 31, he's aging, not got particularly great stats, but he's got experience, and that's something that can be quite vital. He's played in the Premier League, scored quite a few goals in the Premier League as well for Blackburn, and at the Championship level, and even at the Polish level. Recently, I don't know why, but he for some reason had to drop down to the Bundesliga second division, the second Bundesliga, the second division in Germany. I don't know how. He went from 21 appearances and 12 goals in the Prem to having to go to the second tier of Germany. But he did, and he continued to score goals. He's had 3 pretty good years as well there. So he's come to us. He's just going to be a backup player for this one season. He's only got a year's deal, so you probably won't see him too much, but you'll see him on the bench, and hopefully he won't have to come on too much as long as Sanogo scores the goal. So that was a free transfer anyway, so we're not going to lose any money from him there. The next guy was David Cameron, a loanee from Manchester United. We're paying all of his wages. That's where the 35.5k per month comes from. 21 years of age, centre back. I was going to say centre defensive mid. And the reason I said centre defensive mid is because that's where he's sort of going to be playing for us. Due to his ability to play in both positions, both CD and CDM, he gives us a versatility that I really like. I think he's got solid stats to play both centre-back and defensive midfielder, and you'll probably see him appear in both of them. So far, he's played 3 times for us in the Champions League, and all 3 of them, actually I believe 2 of them times were at defensive mid, and one of them times was at centre-back. I could be wrong there, but I believe that's how we played him. So I think he's a nice versatile player. He's a half-decent player as well, got nice ability on him, probably equal to some of the players we already have at the team as well. So yeah, David Cameron, I'm happy to have him as a backup player for this European campaign. Once we get knocked out of Europe, I'll probably release David Cameron back to Manchester United. And the last guy we signed was Hamza, prepare for the butchering of the surname, Benabdella. I believe it's pronounced, maybe I could be wrong, but I know Hamza, so I'll say Hamza. 18 years of age, French centre attacking mid. So another more attacking player to this team. And I saw this guy, and he basically the reason I signed this guy is because he's got great potential, and his current ability isn't too bad. But the thing that really pushed me over the edge, the thing that made me basically put the bid in place, because I was sort of contemplating it, but basically Liverpool made a bid for him. Liverpool became interested in him, and I was like, hang on a second, if Liverpool, Premier League team, are going to be willing to spend money on this guy, he must have some potential, some interesting future ahead of him. So I was like, that's it, I'm going in, I'm bidding for him, I'm outbidding them. And he decided to come to us instead of Liverpool, so clearly we offered him the better contract. And yeah, 1.5 mil. So his history is not too great. I mean, he's only ever played 1 full season of football, and he didn't get a good match rate in there with them in Cannes in the 2nd division of France. But if his potential can become true, if we can develop him into a really good player, he could be a starting centre attacking mid for us in the future. Bear in mind that when we look at the ratings here, Owen Hermerli is actually a right attacking midfielder for us, and Morola is actually our centre defensive mid. So currently Sidibe is playing in the centre attacking mid role, and I would like to have Sidibe playing centre mid. So if we can actually develop Hamza Benabdella and get him to his max potential, or maybe even further beyond that, that would be great for the team. That would be an investment worthwhile. We could probably sell him on for profit, or, like I say, really utilise him and help us become a really good team. And looking at the player's stats right now, and looking at his ability right now, for what we play in the centre attacking mid position, which is a advanced player maker, he has got pretty much all the stats you'd want. I mean, with the exception of a few, obviously, teamwork, off the ball, and anticipation, everything's above, what is that? Everything's above a 13. And that's pretty decent. That's pretty good. So I think this guy's got a really bright future ahead of him. We're going to be really looking to use him this season, especially in the league and after we get knocked out of Europe, obviously. In terms of Europe itself, we'll probably be having him on the bench. That's where I see him being anyway. So he'll be the sub that we could bring on later on in a game if, say, someone isn't playing particularly well. So, I expect to see him a little bit during the live comms in the group stages, and hopefully we'll see a lot of him in the future. So his transfer fee as well, I don't think I brought it up, was 1.5 million, but that's not 1.5 million up front. If we go onto our clauses and we have a look at him, we'll see that 725k of it is after he gets 50 league appearances, 250k of it is after he gets 10 international appearances. So nearly £1 million of his transfer fee is in the future. So we're only paying a very small percentage of that up front. So that's that, to me, that's a good bit of business right there. That's a good transfer, because he may never make 50 league appearances for the team, because realistically, it takes about 5-6 years for someone to achieve that. So, that's way down the line. Hopefully we'll have achieved a lot by then. And 10 international appearances for France, he may never ever get that. France is a very competitive nation. So, we may never end up paying that money off. And also, he's got that 10% profit, which I don't really mind as long as we could get him in for a relatively cheap deal. I was happy with that. So those are all the transfers in. We spent 7.5 million this season. A lot of it was on Maria, so a lot of pressure on him to really reflect his fee that I spent on him. And going into the fixtures, we started off in the perfect way. 4-0 we beat Cliftonville away from home. Our away form was always a bit dodgy in Europe, so to start off with a 4-0 campaign, start off the campaign with a 4-0 win, with a really dominant performance, 36 shots, 17 on target. Okay, 2 penalties were scored in the 4-0 victory, but we also had a few goals disallowed from Sonogo, so it was a really, really dominant performance and a really great display from the team. Ignore the fact that they got a man sent off, because the game was already over. By the time they got the man sent off, it was already 4-0, so nice display against Cliftonville from us. We then beat them 1-0 at home, but it was a scoreline I expected. The performance did reflect the dominance again. It reflected how much better we are than Cliftonville, but the scoreline reflected a scoreline of a team that were 1-0 up or that were 4-0 up in the first leg and knew they were through and knew they were in a very comfortable place. Again, ignore the fact Erwin Hamerli missed a penalty. I mean, he's missed a few so far in this campaign. We'll have a few more of them incidents where he misses penalties. But in the end, Bakayoko scored a penalty in the 89th minute, helped us win the game, and won 5-0 on aggregate. So, moving on into the third qualifying phase, we played KF Triana from Albania. In the first leg, we played them away from home and we drew 1-1. A disappointing game because despite the fact we had 31 shots, we were so wasteful. We only had 8 shots on target. I mean, we could only get a third of our shots on target. And when I talk about clear cut and half chances, we only had, I think, 1 clear cut opportunity and a few half chances. We were very, very poor going forward in terms of the creative aspect, I guess, because to me, the only reason we could only get 8 shots on target is because the opportunities we were creating for ourselves were not particularly great ones. So I was sort of pinned some blame on the midfield here and maybe the strike force for the reason why we couldn't score more in this game. And it didn't start off particularly great for us because Triana, despite our dominance in the first half an hour of the game, they got themselves a penalty and they were able to convert it and get themselves a 1-0 lead. So Erwin Hamerli getting us an equaliser in the 40th minute was great. I thought we'd push on from there. I thought we'd get another goal. But like I said, we lacked any sort of anything going forward. So 1-1 was how the score finished. Was how the game finished. In the home leg, though, we were a lot better. We were a lot more clinical going forward. We were a lot more aggressive going forward, and we were able to win 6-0. Moria got 2 goals, Sonogo got 3, and Morella got 1 in a very, very good display from the attacking team, and Moria as well playing incredibly well for what was only his 4th game at the club. So that was the Champions League second and third qualifying phase. We then moved on to the playoffs against Dinamo, who are from Croatia, a team we've played many, many times before. But before that, we had to play Lincoln in the Pepe Reyes Cup. I decided to play a full team here, with the exception of Hamza coming into the team in the centre attacking mid-role because we had an injury to Bart Boens, which meant Sidibe dropped back into the centre mid-role. Great performance against Lincoln. Really good display. Hamza's got a goal as well in his debut, which is really good. I mean, I'm not going to read too much into it because it is just Lincoln. So 5-0 there. Moving on into the playoffs and the very big games. I was very, very close to actually live commenting these 2 games because I was like, Dinamo could present us a threat. Dinamo could obviously beat us. But I decided against it, and I'm kind of glad I did because, again, it was 2 very dominant displays and very dominant performances from the team. At home, we won 2-0. Erwin Hamerli missing a penalty yet again. I might have to take him off the penalty-taking things because he clearly can't take a penalty. But I mean, the fact that we limited Dinamo to 2 shots and only 1 on target, I think that's a credit to the team, both defensively, midfield, just the whole round squad. That's a credit to them because Dinamo are not a bad team. They're a decent squad. They constantly get to this playoff stage. They constantly pretty much get to a group stage of one European competition. And the fact that we're able to beat them and put in a display as comfortably as we did is very exciting. I mean, it's very exciting for me going forward into this group stage draw that we could actually do well against a few teams. And then in the away game against Dinamo, we won 2-1. Slightly disappointing we couldn't keep a clean sheet. I mean, we were 2-0 up at the stage and 4-0 up on aggregate. So, to me, it shows maybe a little bit of complacency crept in, the fact that we did concede. But either way, 2-1 victory. Again, another really good dominant performance. We were always in control of the match. So, a 2-1 victory does reflect it. And a 4-1 victory in aggregate is really good at this stage of the competition. So, that was it. We're through to the group stage. We've got the draw today. So, we're going to go into that right now. No, we're not actually. We're going to talk about the club first. So, a little bit of news surrounding the club. Yet again, there is a current takeover in place. Carl Sanchez is in the middle of negotiating with a local businessman, and that's not good. For those who don't know, there's sort of a hierarchy of what you'd want to take over your side. The first one is a tycoon, an oil billionaire, rich-ass tycoon, sugar daddy that's going to invest load in your side. Then you sort of want a consortium. Then you'd want a local businessman. And then you'd want the fans to take over. Because in that order, that's the amount of money you're going to get invested into the side. And a local businessman isn't going to have a lot of money or a lot of capital that he can invest into the team once he comes in. So he's going to be using the club's funds. Meanwhile, if we get a billionaire rich tycoon, he's going to maybe invest his own money into the side, increase the club's capital, and we can then maybe invest off the field. So I hope that that takeover doesn't go through, for the hopes that we could maybe get a rich guy coming in. I mean, the latest news from the takeover is that it's on the rocks, so it could collapse very soon. It could collapse in the next few days, or it could go through in the next few days. I don't really know. But fingers crossed for me anyway, that it doesn't go through and we can still have that dream of getting a billionaire, trillionaire guy coming in and investing loads of money in our side and in the Gibraltar domestic football. So that's the only news I want to talk about surrounding the club. It was just that bit of news of the takeover, which is quite important for the club's future. But let's go into the draw today. So we're a third-seeded team. I'm not sure if this is the first time we are a third-seeded team. So either way, we should get a relatively easy team in our group, so that should secure us a third place finish. That's my logic there. And let's get it drawn up to the first two seeds. So I think that's best. So let's have a look at the groups. I think Group H is one that looks very, very tasty. I think Group H is a pretty nice group. I'd like to avoid all French teams if at all possible. Although I don't know how likely that is going to be. There are definitely some tough groups in there. Some actually really, really tough groups. I'd love to avoid Group E, Group F. And probably, I don't know actually. Let's just go through and have a look. It's always going to be tough for the Champions League. So we don't get Group A, nor B, nor C, nor D. So we're going to get one of the bottom groups. Oh, I'd like H still. We don't get E. We don't get F. We get G. So we get Chelsea and Lyon. And let's see who else we get. SC Copenhagen. So let's continue forward and get them all cemented. All the fixtures actually stuck in and everything. Oh, one thing I can go for actually is how the other teams from Gibraltar did in Europe. I'll do that after we have a little look at who we're going to be playing in the next video in the first two games of the Champions League group stage. So obviously we've got French team Lyon. I would have loved to avoid a French team, considering France is a very dominant nation. Monaco and PSG are really dominant in terms of Europe. Lyon actually finished third last year, so they're a very good team. And we're going to have to play our very best to try and give them any sort of game. We played Chelsea yet again. Now, I feel we can beat Chelsea. I know someone commented previously that Chelsea are a better team than us, way better team than us. But I don't think so. They're finishing fourth in England consecutively now. They have to go through the playoffs just like we do. I don't think they're that great. And if we look at their starting 11 that they played recently, they're quite an aging team. They've got quite a few old players in their squad. I mean, Courtois 38 and still in their squad. So, you know, I think we can beat Chelsea if we play well on the day. As long as we don't balls it up, we can beat Chelsea. And I think FC Copenhagen, we've got to be beating them both home and away. If we possess any sort of quality and class, we've got to be beating Copenhagen. So, to me, Copenhagen's are 2 wins, and the Chelsea games and Lyon, we're going to have to do very well, but hopefully we can do well at home, get 2 wins against them, and get ourselves through to the Champions League knockout stage. So the first 2 games are going to be against Lyon and Copenhagen. So, you know, very tough, probably the hardest game we could possibly get to start off our group stage. But then we go to probably the easiest game we could get against FC Copenhagen. So hopefully 3 points in the first 2 games wouldn't be a bad outcome. But let's talk about how the other teams did in Europe. So let's just go through like this. So Lincoln, they obviously qualified in the second. They started in the second qualifying phase of the Europa League for the first time in the club's history. They started there. I mean, they did qualify for it last year, and they put up a relatively good fight. I mean, they played SV Groding, who are a very good team from Austria. So it was always going to be a tough game for them, and they lost 1-0 and 3-1. So not completely outclassed, which is good to see. The other teams to compete in Europe were Man 62. They lost to Partizani, 4-0 and 3-0. Slightly disappointed with that. I felt they probably could have put up more of a fight against them, especially at home. Don't like that 7-0 aggregate scoreline. And FC Britannia, they actually drew 1-1, which is actually good. They get points for their coefficient points you know, they get more from the draw. They get, what is it, like, is it 0.25 for a draw or something from the qualifying phase? So that's good. You know, the fact that they were able to draw against Lovrek, not Lovrek, whatever, Lovkern, from Montenegro. The fact that they were able to get a draw against them is actually really good. I mean, away from home, they lost 2-0, but a draw, you know, a team drawing in the Europa League for us is better than nothing. You know, it's better than everyone else losing. So the other teams from Gibraltar are not doing too bad in Europe, and I think it shows signs that the state of domestic football in this country is improving. So, anyway, next time we back will be the Lyon and FC Copenhagen games. So, until next time, guys, peace out.